1974, Republicans marked Michael Gotten's death on hunger strike in England with a military-style funeral across Ireland. They plan to repeat when another hunger striker, Frank Stagg, died in England in February 1976.
The Gotten funeral was an outrageous procedure. The provisionals using the remains of that unfortunate man for a political exercise of intimidation. In all the towns across the country from east to west that they travelled through, they had intimidated the local businesses into closing. And I regarded that this was an outrageous interference with the freedom of the people in those towns who, if they didn't want to close, it shouldn't have been intimidation into closing. And I and the government were determined that that exercise would not be repeated with the remains of unfortunate Frank Stagg.
The Stagg family was badly split, with his widow and younger brother Emmett in favour of a private burial, while others wanted an I.R.A. funeral.
Frank Stagg's father was a veteran of the Tan War and the Civil War, and there was a strong tradition in the family, and they wanted, as they saw it, rights done by their son.
A Home Office document shows the British plan to give the body to the Republican side of the family.
Our understanding was that the coroner had been doing business with Mr. Stagg's two brothers, in good faith, believing that they were authorised for the purpose.
We learned that the British authorities had decided not to hand over the body to his widow. So I became extremely angered by this, and I sent a message to the Home Secretary, Roy Jenkins, telling him that if he didn't hand over the body to the widow, I'd call a press conference to announce British collaboration with provisional I.R.A. That ultimatum had an immediate effect, and the body was handed over.
The plane carrying the body arrived at Shannon this morning, having been diverted from Dublin on the orders of the government.
Goes to show the terror and the hidden influence that the I.R.A. were able to exercise. Aer Lingus were slightly wobbly about diverting the plane to Shannon, and it took a very firm intervention by Peter Barry, who was Minister for Transport, to convey that the government directed that the plane be diverted to Shannon, and the provisionals were deprived of their Woolwich trophy.
At Dublin Airport, Rory O'Broarty, the president of Sinn Féin Kevin Street, had waited with other Kevin Street officials and relatives of Mr. Stagg. When they heard about the diversion of the flight, they immediately set off for Shannon.
They gave Frank Stagg a military funeral, a huge convoy with armoured cars and lorries and troops and all this kind of thing. I don't know what the idea was. Did they expect that there was going to be some interference or something unseemly?
Since Almighty God has called our brother, Francis Stagg, from this life to himself, we commit his body to the earth from which it was made.
At a meeting in London, Liam Cosgrave told Harold Wilson,
"Care has been taken to bury Frank Stagg in such a way as to make it very difficult for anyone to remove his body."
The grave had been concreted over to prevent